Good morning, everyone. I always appreciate that I get to be the person to say the first good morning to everyone. Welcome to Sunday morning here at Mountain Vista UU.
Right, thank you, Chris. Thank you for your good morning and your welcome. Welcome to Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalist. I'm Reverend Matthew, pastor with this congregation. And along with Chris's and my welcome, I want to extend to you the welcome of all of our other religious professional staff. Stephanie, who welcomes you in our office 9 to noon, Monday through Friday. Stacy, who welcomes our children and our families to our religious exploration program, and Tay, who welcomes our members, friends, and guests with me at the front door on Sundays, and then reaches out and contacts people through the week. You are welcomed also by our hospitality team, extending our welcome so that you can stay for refreshments after the service. Please stay with us. Our audiovisual squad, who welcomes you through technology so that all of those here and those joining online and later through recordings can see and hear everything. So thank you all. Our shared Mountain Vista welcome is this: whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are joining us, you are welcome here. And in that spirit, I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and greet one another. And as you do, don't forget to wave to those at home at the camera. So please rise and greet one another. So you remember when I welcomed you to stay afterwards? Extending the welcome afterwards. Because you can continue these conversations afterwards. Y'all remember that? That whole thing we do after the service. So today, with Alex as our pastoral associate, we welcome one another to a new theme, just for this month, but also reaching into our year. Don't fear the future. And to be clear, this is not don't be afraid. It's not just chill out. It's not everything is copacetic. Because we do have real reasons to be afraid about our future. And chilling out isn't going to help that. Everything is not going to be fine unless we do something. Instead, we are welcoming one another to do something radically different than only being afraid. Because I'm tired of only being afraid. Aren't you? As is our chosen mission, we are going to engage, we are going to love, and we are going to transform the future. We're going to engage our fears. We are going to love the hell out of the world. We're going to transform tomorrow. We've planned for it. We've prepared for it. And right here, right now, we are going to begin. Here in our sanctuary where we gather our bodies and minds, our hearts, our spirits in soulful belonging. Here in the unceded lands of the O'odham and the Yaqui, with whom we are actively seeking reciprocal relationships of respect. Here in this semi-arid desert called Sonoran, where we find kinship among the plants and the animals, the rocks and the sky, the waters and the air. And you know joy in being here as we begin in this secular faith community, begin to live through and beyond all of our fears. It is good that we have gathered. Welcome. Let us worship.
Good morning, everyone. For our chalice lighting, the reading is Be Here in This Moment by Reverend Chip Rausch. We are about to enter sacred time. We're about to make this time and this place sacred by our presence and intention. Please turn off or silence your phones. And as you do so, I invite us all to turn down the volume on our fears, to remove our masks, and to loosen the armor around our hearts. Don't take my word for it. Do it as slowly as you need to. If you take a little risk with these good people, you may find that they have the same human needs as you do. Breathe. Let go of the expectations placed on you by others and those they taught you to place on yourself. Drop the guilt and the shame, not to shirk accountability, but an honest expectation of the possibility of forgiveness. Let go of the thing you said the other day. Let go of the thing you dread next week. Be here in this moment. Breathe here.
We light our celebration chalice for those members experiencing milestones throughout their life's journey. With a few words and the sharing of our flame, we honor and bless new life, the joining of lives together, and life's eventual end. And so today we light it for the Reverend Beth Williams, who died on Thursday, August 1st. Beth joined our congregation in her retirement in 2016. She came to this area and to MVUU after her service to the Unitarian Universalist Association as a minister of religious education. It was a branch of an ordination that specialized in the growth of our faith across generations. While she was here, she was diagnosed with cancer and dementia, and she asked Sally from our pastoral care team to accompany her as a medical advocate. And Sally did that a long time, up until Beth's passing, when they were together this last week. Now, the nature of Beth's dementia made it hard for her to be around new people, and so many of you may have never met her or might not even have recognized her. Having met Beth only once myself, I do know that she was held in a caring heart circle of our members. But I didn't know her beyond that one time that she came and visited us on a Sunday morning. And so, before she died, I reached out to our colleagues and received these words about her. Reverend Megan in California wrote, "Beth was always a gentle, supportive, and encouraging light on my path to ministry." And Reverend Lee Marie, who went to seminary with Beth, wrote, "A bright woman with a keen intellect and a genuinely caring desire to support UU religious education and educators. I'm sorry to hear this news." In celebration of her service to our faith, to a woman of kind support and a friendly smile, we light our chalice for the Reverend Beth Williams. We are planning a celebration of life for Beth, and we'll inform you when that happens. Last week, I heard Dr. Glenn Thomas Rideout, the music director of First Universalist of Minneapolis, teach this. Friends, there are a couple of ways to engage in singing in a church. There is a way in which you sing because sometimes you just need to sing. And there's another way, to listen deep with your heart because sometimes you just need to be sung to. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join your voices in number 1002, Comfort Me, and Joel will be leading us. Please rise.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Feel free to bend it. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
I invite you now to a time of contemplation, of considering and pondering who's afraid of the big bad wolf. Every family has stories, family lore, told and retold, often growing into outrageous tales, but still somehow carrying those core values and meaning. And so, the story goes that in my family, I was afraid of the big bad wolf. Long ago, in days of yore, before online audiobooks or compact discs or even cassette tapes. You remember those times, right? Recordings of stories were often told and retold on vinyl records. Yeah, I see some heads nodding as recalling that. Now, I personally recall those days with just snippets of memory, a child's perspective, when my age equaled my height. In sepia-tinted memories of laughter and play and wonder at the world. And my family story goes that during the time of vinyl records, we would play one particular one, telling and retelling a Disneyfied version of folk tales. And hearing one song, I would run to my parents and I would hide behind their legs. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf, the big bad wolf, the big bad wolf? Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Tra-la-la-la-la. Yeah. I don't have any memory of this story, but I do shudder. So it feels like there's something deep about this family tale. Now, this isn't a new story. Parts of our human family have told and retold stories about the big bad wolf for millennia. And there have been many, many shudders in response. Long ago, in days of yore, before vinyl records or wax recordings, before songs were written in scores or the words were written on pages, indigenous people of Africa and North America and Asia and Europe told cautionary tales about wolves. And these tales spread by word of mouth until other media was invented to carry the stories to people and to places that wolves don't live, that don't exist, so that the world, could know the fear of the big bad wolf. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? And because of the stories, the answer to the question is pretty much everyone. In his 2014 book, Feral, George Monbiot, a British activist and writer, invites us to return to a much more direct relationship to the natural world. And he begins with this request. Arrange these threats in ascending order of deadliness. Ready? Wolves, vending machines, cows, domestic dogs, toothpicks. Wolves, vending machines, cows, domestic dogs, and toothpicks. Now, referencing data from the last 100 years in North America, from least to most deadly to human beings, the correct answer is wolves, vending machines, cows, domestic dogs, toothpicks. With a single reported death of a wolf back in 2010, the chance of your being killed by a wolf is 0.08% per year. It's a statistical anomaly. Death by vending machines, however, is 2.2%, so please don't shake them. And skipping all the way to the top, the chance of dying by ingesting a toothpick is as high as 18%. In reality, Monbiot reports, wolves are exceedingly afraid of people and in most circumstances avoid us. But the fairy tale is more powerful than the facts. Being killed by a wolf is non-existent. It's toothpicks we need to fear. But who's afraid of the bad toothpick doesn't work. And so if we're not in danger of wolves, of what they are, of how they are, then what are we afraid of? In the Chinese tale of Lon Popo by Ed Young, and it's a richly and hauntingly illustrated retelling of the Big Bad Wolf, and it won the 1990 Caldecott Award. I recommend it. It gathers elements we might recognize from Little Red Riding Hood or from The Three Little Pigs into a tale of three little girls left alone and besieged by a crafty big bad wolf. But Young begins his book not with long ago, in days of yore, but with gratitude. He says, "To all the wolves of the world for lending their good name as tangible symbol for our darkness." That's the clue. The core value and meaning carried through our big bad lore. The wolf stories are not about the animal. Instead, it's a symbol of the worst that we, human beings, are capable of. Because none of the big bad wolf stories, the wolves act like wolves. They act like greedy, lying, violent human beings. And they threaten not just everyone in the world, but they always threaten children. You see, we've been telling and retelling ourselves about a big bad potential within our human family. The threats to our most innocent and our most vulnerable selves. And this is something to be afraid of. Who's afraid of the big bad greed, the big bad lies, the big bad threats? There are real things, and we must be scared of them. And yes, vending machines, domesticated dogs, and cows are on the list. But higher still is a fear of what we are capable of, human being to human being. And if you want to shudder with me, please do. Think of that. There are things to be scared of. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But we must be afraid of real things, not imagined ones. Just as my family reminds me, so many of our ancestors remind us with lore and tales that the biggest and the baddest threats we need fear do not arise from outside or beyond us, but from within our human family.
I will be reading Through the Storm, a Buddhist folktale originating from Nara, Japan, interpreted through the wisdom of Thich Nhat Hanh. On a vast and empty land, deep in a freezing snowstorm, there stood a small and dilapidated house. In it lived old Akuro-san. The cold winter air seeped through the holes in the walls. The wind was howling, and the snow fell relentlessly. However, Akuro-san slept peacefully through the snowstorm. Deep in the night, the door of the house opened, and two men tiptoed into the house. Relieved to hear loud snoring, they started to sneak around the house looking for things to steal. However, they only found 2 sacks of rice and nothing else. They took these and headed for the door when Akuro-san suddenly coughed and woke up. He called out, "Who is it?" Caught by surprise, the thieves tripped over each other. The old man slowly got up from his bed. "The night is late, and yet both of you have come to visit us amid a huge snowstorm. Please stay and have a cup of tea." Upon hearing this, the 2 thieves looked at each other. Obviously, this old man knows we are thieves, yet he is treating us so nicely. He must be a fool. The old man called out to them warmly again, "Stay, stay. It is cold outside." One of the thieves asked, "Old man, do you know why we're here?" The old man replied, "Of course I do, but I am so sorry. The harvest for this year was bad. I have only managed 2 sacks of rice. What I owed you in the past should undoubtedly be repaid. I am grateful that you came all this way to collect it yourself. I am grateful to you." The old man offered hot tea to the thieves and said, "The weather's so cold. Please drink some hot tea." The thieves started to feel guilty and ashamed, confused. One thief asked, "When did you borrow from us?" The old man replied, "It must be in our past lives. There must be a debt unpaid by me. If there were no debts created in the past, you would not have come to my house in the middle of the night during a snowstorm when there are so many rich families in the village." The other thief, who had been keeping quiet all along, suddenly kneeled and bowed to the old man. He said, "I am so ashamed of our actions. Everyone in the village knows Akuro-san to be sincere and honest man, yet we thought you were just a fool." The thief lamented, "I've always wanted to start afresh and be a better person. However, it is easier said than done. With my life filled with difficulties, how is one to do good?" The old man replied, "My life is difficult, and I am poor, but life goes on, and so do I." So the thief bowed humbly and said, "I wish to become your apprentice." The other thief also said, "I want to learn from you. Please accept me as your apprentice." The old man replied humbly, "Let us learn together and encourage each other to progress." And with this, calm and peace returned to the home. To paraphrase Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, like 2 thieves, fear comes to us from the past and has us questioning the future. In this way, fear steals the present moment. If we can acknowledge our fear, we can realize that we are grounded in the present moment. You know how to take care of the present moment as best you can. So you are doing your best for the future already.
Each week, we gather as a community of celebration and comfort. We share our joys and sorrows so that we would hear and know what is happening in the lives of people here and how we as a congregation can respond. And we know that some of the joys are like dark chocolate. They are bittersweet. And we know, too, that some sorrows are salty with tears, tears of laughter as well as tears of grief. And all of this we would share. And so we pour out water collected from Sonoran skies and from our homes and from our travels. And then we drop in stones for joy and sorrow as we taste together the bittersweet and salty and respond as a caring community. And today we have no single joy or sorrow to report to you, but we know they are here among us. And so with a handful of stones of different sizes and shapes and textures, we celebrate the joys that are not spoken. And with another handful, again, of different texture, color, shape, and size, we comfort one another in the sorrows. It was silent but present here among us. This, then, is your invitation to be the caring community, to reach out and to ask, how are you doing? And just to listen. Our pastoral care committee leads us in this shared ministry. As you have heard, individuals on our team, like Sally, are medical advocates, but we send cards, we get cakes, we set up meal trains. We work together with you, listening to joys and sorrows, and then bringing our congregation to celebrate and to comfort together. May it be so now and in all of our days to come. I invite you now to a time of meditation, of listening and breathing and shaking out fear. Without fear, our ancestors would not have survived. Generation after generation lived because of that natural biochemical reaction to danger. Sensing danger, feeling fear. The human body becomes faster and stronger, more alert and aware of our surroundings. And this ability, this allowed our ancestors to escape or to fight. And they gave this to you. It isn't just our human kin, but this evolutionary reality we share with all animals that swim and fly, that slither and crawl and move upon this earth. And in this way, you and I, we're products of the great kinship of fear. We know that living in prolonged states of fear is unhealthy for our bodies and our minds, for our hearts, our spirits. It's not good for our souls. Living from moment to moment in an ongoing state of fear, it turns all of that biochemical benefit against us. Your continual worries, and I don't have to tell you what they are, your anxieties, I'm not going to name them, your stress because you feel it. It taxes your body. It makes us age prematurely, and it weakens our immune systems. It's reported that 120,000 people die directly from stress-related work. Ongoing fear makes it hard for us to think and to think critically. We end up suspicious and attacking those we would otherwise trust, or we flee our relationships in defensiveness or discounting others unnecessarily. If not acknowledged, if not addressed, enduring fear hurts. If this is where you find yourself, please let me and our pastoral care committee know. Listening to you, we will help you find the resources to address ongoing fear. Resources that might come from other religious traditions, various techniques that have long addressed living with fear. Mindfulness, ecstatic dancing, chanting, praying. These are human responses to fear. And something that all animals do when overloaded with fight or flight chemicals is shake it off. You ever see a pet after a tense moment? Its whole body just trembles, and then they're done. They release the biochemical energy on their bodies. And so alongside all of our kin, I invite you to a shake meditation. Rest where you are. Breathe through your mouth and out through your nose as your body requires. And as you will, gently allow your hands to bounce in rhythm. Gently, with the wrists shaking. If you feel the need to include your forearms and your shoulders, allow for that as you feel comfortable. If you feel a need to speed up or slow down, allow for it. And if you feel a tremor, a shake in your spine, a shudder through your shoulders, allow for it. And I invite you to conclude with just a vigorous shake of your hands. And then slow, 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 and relax. Held within the great kinship of all animals, a simple act of shaking, it helps release the ongoing impact of living through hard times. This isn't meant to stop fear of real danger. It's not to tell you to calm down or chill out, but to release you from fight or flight that steals from you this moment of shared strength and shared awareness.
And one of the most wonderful stress relieving and releasing things that I know of can be singing. I'd like to teach you a new song, and over the next couple of weeks, we're going to keep learning new parts to it. But this part, the simple melody, the words are easy. In these hard times, there will always be singing. We need to keep singing. Now, the first part, I'm going to teach it to you line by line, first two measures. In these hard times, there will always be singing. Sing it with me. In these hard times, there will always be singing. Second phrase, always be singing in these hard times. Sing that with me. Always be singing in these hard times. Let's sing from the beginning to there. That's the first half of the tune. In these hard times, there will always be singing. Always be singing in these hard times. Beginning of the second phrase should sound familiar. In these hard times, there will always be singing. Exactly the same as the first phrase with me. And in these hard times, there will always be singing. And the last phrase is just the shape of the second phrase. Always be singing in these hard times. Sing that phrase with me. And always be singing in these hard times. Let's try the whole thing gently and nice. As I always say, that's the one thing that electronic music and AI has not yet been able to replicate very well, is singing as a group. In these hard times, there will always be singing. Always be singing in these hard times. In these hard times, there will always be singing. Always be singing in these hard times. One more time. In these hard times, there will always be singing. Always be singing in these hard times. In these hard times, there will always be singing. Always be singing in these hard times. Like the choirs used to hearing me say, I lied when I said one more time. In these hard times, there will always be singing. Always be singing in these hard times. In these hard times, there will always be singing. Always be singing in these hard times. And one more time, take a big deep breath. Thank you.
After 58 years of showing every movie imaginable, the good, the bad, and the ugly, De Anza Drive-In, the last theater in Tucson, closed in 2009. I have many memories of De Anza. They all begin with driving up its long, dusty entrance at dusk in my parents' big boat of a station wagon, riding over the waves of those angled parking spaces, and then anchoring ourselves with a speaker to the window, and then settling in with that plastic bag filled with popcorn that we had filled at home as we set sail into the silver screen as the sun went down. I do have a single odd memory of working there as a security guard for one night in the summer of 1992, but that is a story for another time. Now, what I want to share with you is that it's at Dianza Drive-In that I have my first crystal clear memory of being scared. Really, really scared. It was early summer of 1997, and my family had gone to see Star Wars. Of course, I'd never seen anything like it. None of us had. A space opera of interstellar proportions with an eclectic band of rebels fighting a tyrannical empire. You might recall their fight was against the Death Star, and the primary strategy of the empire was fear. Fear will keep the local systems in line, fear of this battle station. The spectacle was mind-blowing and ultimately life-changing, but that is a story for another time. But the inspiring characters have stayed with me, ranging from the wise elder wizard to young heroines and heroes to scoundrels and Wookiees. Truly an eclectic group. But then there was Darth Vader. And the instant the villainous Lord of the Sith strode boldly onto the screen, ominous breathing and presence, voiced deeply by James Earl Jones. I scrambled over the front seat and disappeared into the back. Of course, I continued to watch. I mean, who could look away? Held in the safety and the comfort of my family, it was fun to be scared. Seems, though, like that was a long time ago, far, far away. Another time and another space when our culture of fear didn't erode our sense of safety and comfort together. Back when being scared was fun because we weren't afraid all of the time. It's nostalgic, I know. Real dangers and imagined fears have always existed. There's never been a time where we were free from fear, and being scared for fun, well, that exists today. But the culture of fear that we live with, that is ever present, it's different. It takes our imagined fears and it amps them up and up and up and up, impacting how we think and how we feel. And it hurts our health and our mortality. It often makes us incapable of identifying, let alone addressing the genuine threats, the real dangers that we face. You see, there was a time when we had only 3 sources of nightly news. Remember back in that time? And what they competed for was our trust. Instead of our ongoing and unending mass media blitz of dozens of cable channels, uncountable news feeds, websites, and emails, and online publishing. These seek to capture and stoke fear with a sensationalistic strategy. If it bleeds, it leads. And there was a time when our political campaigns were based on the strength of their platforms, of their values, and not the strategy based on Richard Nixon's cynicism. Quote, people react to fear, not love. They don't teach you that in Sunday school, but it's true. I know, I'm being nostalgic again, right? Because there never was a time of pure journalistic integrity or a time where we didn't have tricky politicians. But today, we do live in an unprecedented culture of fear that our minds and our bodies, that our hearts and spirits are not evolved to deal with. The human animal is not prepared for the culture of fear. In his book, The Culture of Fear, Why Americans Are Afraid of the Wrong Things, Barry Glassner answers his title question this way: the short answer to why Americans harbor so many misbegotten fears is the immense power and money awaiting those who tap into moral insecurities and supply us with symbolic substitutes. I mean, it's no surprise, right? It's money and power. We live in a culture of fear, misplaced fears over real dangers, because there are human beings choosing to prey upon our innocence and vulnerability when it comes to what we fear. They trade our trust in them, our trust in the systems with which we live, for power over us. They peddle in false fears, abusing our natural human reaction to danger, that gift, the gift from our ancestors that we share with all animal kin. They trade it in for cash. And they justify this philosophy, believing that being a consumer and being a voter is the same thing. By strategies of fear-mongering, they are giving us the news that sells and the votes that they want. But they are not giving us the solutions we need. I know I'm being sentimental again about the past. I know, because it's a past that never existed. There never has been a perfect America. Our bittersweet and salty history is clear. Some have always grasped power over the lives of others. Some have always cashed in on our fears. There is no turning back the clock to when there was peace, justice, and liberty for all, because that time never existed. It never existed. There's no going backward. And that turns out to be great, to be wonderful, because that's what the future is for. "22 years after Star Wars premiered, Episode 1, Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, hit the silver screens. Unraveling how the first Star Wars was really the fourth episode and the first episode was really the fourth movie takes much more time than we actually have here this morning. But I bring it up, this millennial movie, this prequel story, because it's the story of how a little boy becomes Darth Vader. This child's path is concisely summed up in The Phantom Menace by Yoda, the Grand Master of the monk warriors, the Jedi. In Buddha-like fashion, Yoda relates this wisdom: fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. I admit I am totally predisposed to everything coming out of Star Wars franchise. But that phrasing, that path, sounds like what is going on in our culture right now. It feels like what's happening to me in this culture of fear, fear leading to a culture of anger, a culture of hate, a culture of suffering. And I don't want that future. I don't want that path that leads to an unnatural culture, more machine than human, twisted and evil. I don't want it. Not for me, not for you, my beloved people. Not even for those who covet power over us, who cash in on our fear. No one. Not one of us must become trapped in a trajectory of fear and anger, hate, and suffering. There's another way. There's another path, our path. It's not fleeing or attacking one another, as our culture would suggest, but it's engaging our fear. Buddhists teach that all life is dukkha. And while this Pali word is often translated as suffering, as in all life is suffering, that really misses the mark of the teaching. All life is sickness, aging, and death, and these are inescapable, is closer to the center of the target. But the bullseye is this: we suffer through life because we refuse to accept that which is inescapable. Accepting sickness, aging, and death frees you to live and to plan and to act in this moment. And I believe that's what novelist William Faulkner meant when he penned, "Be scared. You can't help that, but don't be afraid." There are real things to be scared of, real things. But if we are afraid, only afraid, then living in that continual concoction of biochemical flight or fight, we end up fearing one another. And we will never receive the strength and awareness, the gift of fear that is given to us, that is our birthright in this present moment. And so while we're not Buddhists, although some are, and we are not Star Warists, although some are, we're not all even Unitarian Universalists, although most of us are. We are a people who are done being afraid all the time. We're done letting the fear of the past and the unknown steal this moment, steal away our power to plan and act for a better future. I know, I'm being optimistic. Or am I? We are Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalists, the members and friends and guests and children and families. We are a secular faith community that has already chosen to live by belonging and reciprocity and kinship and play, because you know what? We cannot help but put joy back into the world. I know we do it imperfectly, and it breaks my heart to see you hurt one another. It does. But no one gets to direct us with their personal anger, fear, hate, or suffering. Because we don't flee and we don't fight one another. We go through fear together. And our actions show we have already decided to listen to our fears, build our trust, and gather our strength with the full awareness that we can engage and love and transform the future. And this turns that whole culture of fear right on its head, because where there's a need, we will lead. In the face of fear, we respond in love, and we're already teaching that in Sunday school. And imperfectly, humanly, and I pray more humbly every day with love as our guide, this is our path to change the future. Now, some of you are more practical and are wondering how. Well, today you'll hear some of our plans with our announcements, and you'll hear other plans as the month goes on. But our plans are worthless if you don't come and share your fears, if you don't come and build trust, and if you don't get involved. So I invite you, get engaged. Give all that you can, take only what you need. Bring your fears with you to this secular faith community of celebration and of comfort, so together we don't fear the future. I don't know, can I get an amen? As I have been taught, amen, aho, blessed be, may it be so, because we choose it to be. Our closing hymn is number 318, We Would Be One. I invite you to rise in body or spirit with the words on the screens and with Joel's guidance, sing together.
We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on the way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service with love and justice, strive to make us free.
Please be seated.
Thank you, Joel. All right, our announcements today. For our woven basket, the wooden bowl is for your financial support of our congregation, and the woven basket is for our monthly justice partner. This month we partner with 2 elementary schools in the neighborhood Flowing Wells District, Laguna and Hendricks. All that we collect this month purchases supplies for students and teachers, in tandem with our volunteers who give their time as teachers, aides, and tutors. Go Longhorns and Hawks. All your gifts are greatly received. July 5th through August 11th, our UU kids are flexing their muscles at making a difference in the lives of animals at the Humane Society. As they lead us, we are collecting supplies and money to take to the shelter to make the animals stays there easier. We hope you'll help. Excuse me. The list and drop-off are in the Covenant Hall, our foyer, just over there. On August 11th, following the service, we will be holding a hybrid training for safety at rallies/protests and parades and marches. Members, friends, MVUU professional staff, and Reverend Matthew will be gathering at 1 p.m. on Sunday, August 11th, that's next Sunday, in person and online for a training for us to better engage, love, and transform the future. The training will be led by Ray Strazzo, who is a local artist and experienced activist. Ray has been teaching about showing up to public events to bring engaged, loving, and transformative action for several years now. We will be serving pizza at MVU and sending Zoom access to all those who wish to join remotely. So you must RSVP directly to Reverend Matthew. This is just one opportunity for MVU to learn to better engage, love, and transform for the future. Look for more opportunities as our 2024-25 church year unfolds. MVU is a sponsor of the Side with Love's first ever Climate Justice Revival. We have received a packet of information on August 1st with Sunday service materials and topics for discussion groups and workshops that we will lead here at MVUU. On the last weekend of September and the first weekend of October, Vince Pawlowski has agreed to co-lead this effort, and folks are stepping up. If you are passionate about environmental justice, please speak to him about how you can get involved. He's just right in the back there. UU the Vote. And our final announcement is from UU the Vote, our national campaign to live our values out loud. And I believe we have a video.
Democracy. It isn't just what you do. Democracy is who we are and who we want to be together. Throughout history, Unitarian Universalists have shown up embodying the promise of democracy, justice, freedom, and care, with a moral mandate to build a world where all of us thrive. Today, much is at stake, and so much is possible. We've won battles some said were hopeless, winning reproductive health care in Kentucky, Michigan, and Kansas, mobilizing a pro-democracy majority in Ohio, and expanding Medicaid in North Carolina because of historic and sustained democratic action. Building partnerships, joining mass protests, becoming election defenders, poll workers, and chaplains, demanding accountability from our local representatives, and igniting historic voter turnout. Now is the time to show up again and again and again, at the polls, on the doors, on the phones, and in our congregations and in our streets. Because democracy is powered by people. We, the people. Join us.
Last month, we collected $300 for UU the Vote, and we will keep you informed as they return to Arizona. We'll now release the flame. I will be reading Fitted for This Day, adapted from Reverend Kimberly Quinn Johnson's closing. When I say, "We are the ones we have been waiting for," please repeat them. We are the ones we have been waiting for.
We are the ones we have been waiting for.
These are the words written by June Jordan in her poem for South African women, which she represented before the United Nations Assembly on August 9th, 1978. We are the ones we have been waiting for.
We are the ones we have been waiting for.
We are not perfect, but we are perfectly fitted for this day. We are not without fault, but we can be honest to face our past as we chart a new future. We are the ones we have been waiting for.
We are the ones we have been waiting for.
May we be bold and courageous to chart that new future. May we have faith in a future that is not known. We are the ones we have been waiting for.
We are the ones we have been waiting for.
And just as singing is always a good response, so is getting up and skipping about the room, building a straw house, maybe keep the brick one outside, that might be a good idea.